Live from the 607, it is the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Why don't you join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH? Here we go. And welcome to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I'm your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, we have a special guest in studio. Now, if you're having a wedding this summer or any time of year, if this man is not your DJ, it's not popping. It's definitely not what you want at your wedding, because if you don't have Ryan Bombard bringing Ryan Bombard Entertainment to your wedding, it's just not kicking off. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to bring my friend Ryan Bombard to the ODPH studios. Ryan, what's going on?
You know, why is a wedding DJ talking about sports?
Because he is quite knowledgeable of his sports, and he's going to prove it to you in this podcast edition.
I appreciate it. First of all, it's awesome to be here. We've been trying to set this up for a while. And,
for a long time.
Very excited to finally be here and in studio.
Yes.
Which is cool. And it's funny because you went down the DJ route. I appreciate the plug. Very cool.
Have to.
But as far as just to give myself a little credibility, I mean, if you actually heard the show, it wouldn't be much. But I actually did a sports talk show on local radio here in the Binghamton area.
Oh, okay.
On Sports Radio 1430, The Team.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturday mornings. Again, if any of the five of you that listened are listening to this right now, what's up?
Well, I do count, so I mean, you have to say four others. But I was there for it because I was going to get into that as well. But I have to give the plug to the wedding DJ extraordinaire himself.
I appreciate that. And then I also mention our legacy.
This is true.
College radio. He's rolling his eyes already.
Yeah, Pat is just sitting there. He's like, I've been waiting. I've been just trying to get through this episode. I don't want to be hearing about, WNTE 89.5 Mansfield University Radio.
Might have heard about it once or twice.
Maybe once or twice.
That's where I first met him.
Yes.
Literally, I was a freshman, like no idea what was going on. I walked into the studios down there to check because, of course, I was already doing some radio stuff. So that's literally before I even knew what my classes were. I went into the college radio station,
there you go.
And he was the first one, and he was like crazy welcoming and just I don't know if you know this about him, but he's a nice guy, very accepting.
I have heard that.
See, now this ruins my rep on the street.
And I just remember being a scared freshman that just really wanted to be involved. Like, you took me right under your wing, and the rest is history. No, it was very cool. We did some sports talk shows down there.
Yes, we did.
And I believe we did have the two hottest radio shows on WNTE at that time.
At that time, we did have our run because at the time we did have a couple DJs ahead of us. Shout out to Fed, Chillin', Scratch, and Big Dave, wherever he is, because I think he's the last person we have to find. And Baby You, got to remember him. So, I mean, we came from a very good DJ crew down there. So, obviously, though, when everybody's kind of graduating and doing their own thing, see, I'm so used to, I was going to call it DJ Pound. I was still going to do that.
You can do your thing.
Yes, but for our listeners that are listening internationally and such, Ryan and I used to DJ down at college, and we definitely had the number 1 and 2 radio shows on campus at the time. So we definitely did that, but we definitely talk sports. So that's why we're getting to bringing Ryan back on here. It's kind of coming full circle that we're finally doing this after I don't know how many months we've been trying to get this to happen.
And I'm just going to warn you, I can go big time dork on the sports stuff. So okay. I will keep an eye on the dork dial here to see. I don't want to turn anybody off. So
no, absolutely not. But definitely, we want you to interact with us on the hashtag ODPH. Join in the conversation because this is an interactive podcast. I would say radio, but it is really no.
It's a new form of radio.
It's a new form of radio. But either way, we want you interacting because we have a lot to discuss.
This is radio people actually listen to.
Yes.
So
very good point. And the biggest story of the weekend, or since the last show, should I say, had been the UFC had a lot of announcements and a great card Saturday night with UFC 227.
Absolutely.
Now, the co-main events definitely went and delivered.
Mm-hmm.
But the decisions, I would say one was kind of shocking, one wasn't. We had, the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet, Demetrius Johnson, versus Henry Cejudo.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say we have a new champion at the flyweight division.
File this under things I didn't expect to see.
I will say I was extremely not shocked. I was shocked that DJ lost because on my scorecard I had him winning 3 rounds to 2. But Cejudo definitely came in there and just, imposes wrestling will. And I think that we finally saw DJ have a weakness because when he was on his back, he really, this was the first time we really saw him in trouble, that he was really struggling to to get the offensive.
Well, I was going to say, wasn't that kind of the knock? Is that he was running out of competition? I mean, there wasn't even anybody there that they could bring in to have any. I mean, what was it, Bermudez? I mean, how many times is that guy going to? I mean, he seemed like the only one that ever had a shot. Am I thinking of the right guy?
Benavidez.
I'm sorry, Benavidez. He was the only one that kind of. But he fought him 3 times?
Something like
that.
I
think 2 or 3 times and lost every one.
Yeah, no, DJ was fighting at such an elite level. And
he's been undefeated for 47 years or something like that.
It feels like that because I remember the last real competition he had was when he won the title against Ian McCall way back when. And he's just been an evolving fighter. And the thing about him, too, that he gets to knock a little bit is, he does a lot of decisions. He's always fighting for a finish. I mean, you even saw he's had a couple finishes in the 5th round.
Yep.
So he's always working to do this. And he fought Cejudo the first time around, or Cejudo. I mean, I apologize for messing the name up. But he beat him the first time around, so it was like, okay, when we heard they're going to rematch, okay, is this going to go the same way? And I will say, I mean, Cejudo definitely imposed his will, and he didn't get caught up in the hype of it. He fought his fight, albeit though, like I said, if I'm looking at the whole picture, I wasn't breaking down by round because I think what won the fight for him is in the 5th round he got a takedown, but he didn't hold DJ down. He got right back up. So it's kind of like your interpretation.
Yeah, that whole octagon control always seems to be a weird, subjective thing.
Yeah, it's your interpretation.
Yeah, that's just so, because I feel like that's one of those things where any of these judges, well, he had octagon control. He didn't have octagon control, and it's like the helmet rule.
Yeah,
like in the NFL, nobody actually knows what that means.
Was it a catch? Was it not a catch?
Like, why should a takedown count as much if you don't actually have control? You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
But I actually feel bad for DJ because I think the knock on him for so long was that he didn't have any personality. People didn't care about him because he's dominating, winning all these fights, but he wasn't a draw. Like he couldn't, he wasn't selling any fights. And I feel like he just started. He's been in commercials. You've seen some of the other sides of his personality, and I felt like in pro wrestling terms, that he's starting to get over. And then he loses. And it just couldn't have come at a worse time. I mean, well, we'll see how the rematch does, but...
Well, I think that he did have a couple of injuries after this fight, so I know he's going to be taking some time off. But I agree with you. I think if anybody deserves an immediate rematch, it's DJ.
Especially in a split decision.
Yeah, it was highly contested. Like I said, it went really back and forth. It just depends on how you judge that 5th round. And like for me, I gave it to DJ because I thought, okay, yeah, Cejudo got the takedown on him, but he didn't do anything other than he took him down.
Did you see a lot of responses of it being controversial? Like, were people mad about the decision?
I think it was more surprise.
Well, okay, because what I got was I felt like people, even like you, I felt like I heard people say, well, I think DJ won, but I get the decision. I'm more surprised that the old school NBA, like the All-Stars get the call. Like there's part of me that wondered, you're going to take the belt off him in a split decision. I know that's not fair, and that's actually good. I think that's good officiating.
Yeah,
that they didn't, but that's what kind of surprised me. It's like, wow,
it was kind of a shock. I mean, Pat, I don't know if you want to jump in on this.
I mean, the shocking thing to me was after the fight, it came out that he apparently kicked Cejudo so hard he broke his foot. And he was seen on crutches. I'm like, wait, when did he get crutches? And I guess he believes the injury occurred during the fight when he was landing one of his many kicks on Cejudo.
Yeah, and he fought through it, which is just insane to think of.
Yeah, because anyone who's had a broken foot, I've had a minor one, albeit not that major, but it's still not easy to walk on.
Yeah, and I believe he also he tore his MCL too, or he has a ligament tear somewhere. And to still fight through it. And like I said, in my eyes, I thought he won. But it's to take nothing away from Cejudo.
No.
By any stretch. It just depends on how you want to judge that last round. And I think the fact that when Cejudo won rounds 2 and 4, and he was on top of him for almost the entire rounds after he got the takedown, I think that kind of showed the judges that, okay, if you really want to judge the whole octagon control factor, I mean, if he's imposing his will for minutes of a round,
to say if he's opening up a can of what,
yeah, I mean, and he was working too, but he wasn't like trying to go for like an armbar. I think maybe at one point he was just really kind of ground and pound, just taking it back to just old school wrestling. And then just that 5th round, it was kind of very back and forth, but it was an entertaining fight nevertheless. And I totally love what he said at the post fight. He goes, Cejudo was all this week I've been getting disrespected. Everybody said DJ was going to run right through me. Here I am. I am now your 125-pound champion. I will fight whoever, and I will go up, and I will fight the winner of TJ and Cody next fight.
And he's got every right to talk that talk because, like we said, DJ's been champion for what feels like, 100,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you just look at it going, okay, if the guy's won handedly and by decision and knockout and everything else for, 100,000 years, why are you going to doubt he's going to win?
Yeah. I mean, that's the one question. It's just when somebody has the aura. I mean, the only thing I can relate this to is like when Anderson Silva was making the run.
Yes.
And everybody was like, there's nobody that can beat him. And then when Chris Weidman did, it's like the world just stopped spinning for a second. It was kind of like that in this moment because when you have a fighter that's just everybody that's stepping up to fight him is getting, I don't want to say handled because I don't think that's the right case. There's been some, highly contested fights, but just DJ just finds a way to win, and he just looks like he was getting better every fight.
And it was one of those things like watching the fight in time. There was no point where I was thinking, okay, he's going to lose this fight because it's DJ. Mm-hmm. Like he's going to pull it out somehow.
Yeah, and just to see this happen, it was like, okay, this is kind of just crazy just to see that. Okay, now we have a changing of the guard. What happens next? But I totally love that he was like, I'll fight DJ again if he wants. I'll fight the winner of TJ, Cody. Because, I mean, in my perfect world, I was hoping that we had a super fight with DJ and whoever won the 135 belt. Because I think at that point, if he had beat Cejudo, there really wasn't anybody else. Maybe Sergio Pettis.
Could you imagine a Garbrandt versus DJ?
Oh,
Could you imagine the...
I would have to take some Dramamine because how fast they'd be moving. It'd be like motion sickness.
But even the build-up, something tells me that Garbrandt would have had a field day with that build-up.
He would have because, you know, he's already taken down Dominic Cruz, which, I mean, if you want to talk about long-reigning champions, right there. So when Garbrandt did that, it's like, okay, I think everybody really bought into it. And, yeah, he would have had a field day. I think if you put that super fight together and you really thought, okay, DJ was going to be really tested at this time, that would have sold. That would have gone so over. And I was even kind of hoping it was going to be Dillashaw versus DJ. That's the fight I've been wanting to see for a while, just because I think Dillashaw is just that more hungrier. Not to say Cody isn't.
Right.
But I think that
Dillashaw's got a chip on his shoulder.
He's got the biggest chip on his shoulder. But you know what? I love it, though, because he comes in there and he's like, you know what? Everybody says because I left Alpha Male, I'm the bad guy. Why am I the bad guy? Because I'm winning. But he's cocky, but he's backing it up. You can't fault him on that.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, if I didn't get hurt, something happened because I know they were trying to talk super fight before they made the fight with Garbrandt. He was like, I'll go down to 125. I don't care. I'll go fight him down there. I'm not scared to go there.
You see that all the time in other sports where they, somebody gets trash talked or talked down upon. And they go, all right, you know what? The good ones will be, all right, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. They're going to put up like 50 or 60 points in a basketball game. They're going to throw for 500 yards in a football game. They're going to hit 3 home runs.
Yeah.
But also sometimes I think these fighters are scared. They get too caught up in the loss.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I even think McGregor, the first time he faced Diaz, like he was going up and he was almost in a no-lose situation. He didn't want to lose because at the time he was winning everything. Mm-hmm. But still, I think he knew like the money that I'm going to make is going to far outweigh whatever I will lose from the loss. Because, again, he's fighting up. That's where I think this Khabib thing, well, we'll get to that in a minute.
We're going to get to that. We might have to do a whole second segment about that one.
I do have a question for you. You're pretty in-depth in the UFC stuff. I did see that Cejudo's talking about fighting up a weight class. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's watering things down? Because I feel like at one point as a UFC fan, like the idea of that, like when McGregor did it, when GSP did it, didn't Matt...
Sarah?
No.
Matt Hughes.
Matt Hughes. Didn't Matt Hughes do that too? He fought over 2 different... BJ Penn had...
I know
belts.
BJ did. I'm not sure about Hughes.
But I just feel like it was a big deal. And now it's like...
Well,
Cejudo's talking about doing it, and I'm just everybody. You got DC going between weight classes. You've got all these different guys, and it's like to me to have that many people doing it. A, I think it's getting watered down, and B, I'm worried that UFC has too many weight classes.
See, I look at it from a couple of different ways. I think if you're an elite fighter and you clean out your division and you move up or you move down, I'm okay with that.
I.e. DJ.
Yeah, I don't struggle with that at all. But, DJ used to fight at 135 in the WEC, and then he dropped down to 125. So in that situation, I don't struggle with that. But I do understand about the fluctuating of weight and just who's going up. For some reason, I'm hearing GSP is rumored to be trying to fight at 155, and he just fought at 185. So
yeah, but he was ballooned up big time.
Oh, yeah, I know he was ballooned up for the fight against Bisping, but it was just kind of like, all right, you want to talk about that? Have you really cleaned out your new division? No, I mean,
and plus the fact he just gave up a belt.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on with that one that I just don't see the purpose of that. So, but I do agree that maybe it's watered down. But if you're looking at the fighter, what have they done in their division? DC has dominated everybody in 205 with the exception of John Jones. So, and John,
and I heard he's not around right now.
Yeah,
so.
No. I mean, obviously his situation hasn't cleared up. So if he wants to go back up to heavyweight where he used to fight outside the UFC, I wouldn't really struggle with that so much. I mean, he is the champion there, and then whatever is going to happen with him and Brock Lesnar, if that fight does happen.
And that's another perfect example of what we were just talking about. DC has nothing to lose against Brock Lesnar.
Oh, no.
He goes in there and Brock mops the floor with him. I think DC doesn't lose anything.
Let's say DC is counting the dollar signs as he falls to the floor.
Oh, yeah, because it's a fight that, if you want to talk super fights, right there.
Oh, yeah.
Because Brock draws.
Say what you will about the guy, he draws.
Yeah, former champion, but he will sell the fight. And for DC, where, I mean, who else really is standing out at 205 that you're like, oh, I got to see this fight right
and
now?
That's kind of where I look at with the whole division jumping thing. We've said this for multiple divisions, but it's true for the UFC overall. Who's really coming up making a name that like, oh, they're going to be the next contender at light heavyweight, at welterweight? You don't really have, by and large, a lot of guys that are, or girls making names and coming up in the rankings. So to me, this whole jumping divisions thing is a fad. It is what it is for right now. But down the road, when they get an influx or some fighters coming up who can make a contention, make a run, and challenge for the belts, then, okay, I got a guy I can fight. I don't have to jump up and face, the 155er.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it just depends on, the new crop of fighters that come in for, men and women.
Yeah.
That I think right now is like they don't have the star power, so to speak, but they have a lot of great fighters on the roster.
Well, because you remember all of like 6 months ago, we were sitting here going, all right, well, who's the UFC star? Conor McGregor's MIA, Ronda Rousey was WWE, Brock Lesnar's WWE, John Jones is, MIA, George St. Pierre, MIA. You didn't have anybody.
No, and it's kind of like a weird thing because I don't want to say the division's watered down by any means. I don't think it is, but I think that they just need to have somebody that just comes across and is the next big thing.
Can I make a wrestling comparison?
Absolutely.
I know that there's this weird thing between MMA fans and wrestling fans, but I think people would understand this. UFC right now reminds me of WWE in the mid 2005 era, around that time.
Okay.
Where you had all the stars, they were riding the biggest wave that they had, and then they're starting to come down the other side, and WWE didn't try to make new stars. Didn't take it. John Cena was it.
Yeah.
And everybody else, they just tried to hold on to. And look at all of the guys that just fizzled out. All the guys that left that never actually had the big marquee fights afterwards. I mean, all of them. I mean, there's a laundry list. And then it ended up with John Cena and a bunch of people that nobody knew. And I really think that's where UFC is going right now, is because they're not making many new stars. They're banking on all these super fights and all, even CM Punk. There was so much controversy over that. Bringing Lesnar back. I mean, really, really look at what has happened with him bouncing back and forth, using UFC as negotiation tactic, failing drug tests. They're jumping at the opportunity to bring Brock back when it's
well, because he's established. I mean, that's the thing is they're going through the flux now where somebody's got to just stand out.
But what's going to happen when all of these guys are gone and you're left with
Well, that's going to be the telling sign. I think they'll get somebody in there at some point. Just because, I mean, you're even taking a look at, I'm just going to throw a name, just Colby Covington. That he is emerged out of nowhere, but he is shown he has personality. He will take you off, but you're going to either watch because you're completely loving the heel persona, or you just want to see him get knocked out. Either way, he's now drawing. That I think that as long as you have these fighters that are kind of willing to take the next step to really draw it, we're going to have to see. But we're going to take a quick break because we're still not done talking UFC 227. So let's hit a quick break. You're listening to the ODPH.
2, 3, 4. Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH with Ryan Bombard in studio talking UFC 227, and we talked about the flyweight championship bout last segment, but let's break into the bantamweight title.
Woo boy.
Now this one definitely had its fireworks, and we're talking about stars on the rise. Cody Garbrandt had a lot of hype behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Dare I say, for Team Alpha Male, he's the next breakout star. If it's been contested, I mean, I don't think there's any question of it. Against the public enemy number one of Team Alpha Male, TJ Dillashaw.
Yep.
This is like old school, like this is like old school, like Jim Crockett Promotions, like crazy old school pro wrestling. Like the one guy leaves the Four Horsemen, and then the Four Horsemen keep trying to beat him down. This is great, except it's flipped a little bit. Dillashaw is probably the heel there, the bad guy.
Yeah, and it's crazy because for TJ, I mean, all he did was leave the camp. I mean, the drama that's happened after that has just been wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I can describe it.
It's like a soap opera.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I understand about team loyalty. I mean, because we've had Crow's Nest MMA on here all the time, and trust me, it's like that whole camp is run so tight that you understand that after talking to him. So looking at how Dillashaw left, and definitely a lot of bad blood between him and Uriah Faber and company, to see that he beat Cody in the first round, and I mean that was a straight just fireworks. Like if you blinked, you missed it, and just hit him with that knockout. The fight went along the same lines this round, or this time around. So I mean, seeing how TJ just talk about guys with chip on their shoulders, and he wanted to make a statement. He's like, I don't want to do another rematch. Like we're gonna make sure we
enough's enough. Time to put this one to bed.
Yeah, and I mean, just his striking was so on point, and like Cody was landing some shots too. Don't get me wrong, but it was just like TJ just had the plan, and he just wanted to go for the knockout.
Is TJ can TJ be the next breakout star? Can he be the next?
I'll say maybe.
Do you think he'll draw people? Because I felt like I get UFCs for the big fights, and then I follow along, listen to podcasts, read reports, all that stuff. So I keep up with it, and this Dillashaw fight was the first one in a while where I actually I teetered. I had the urge to get the fight, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got the potential. Like he has the charisma for it.
Yeah, he's got the talent, he's got the charisma, he's got the personality. It's just I think he needs a few more star-studded wins, a few more highlight reel wins under his belt.
Are those wins available there in that division?
Maybe. I think that the fight that everybody really wants to see right now. I mean, for me, I don't want to see the super fight against Cejudo just yet. I don't. I want to see him fight Dominic Cruz.
Ooh.
I want to see that. If he beats Cruz, then do the super fight for him.
It's like, because him beating Cruz is a statement.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Dominic was the king of the bantamweights for how many years?
A long time, because he still is a name that you hold with some reverence. It's not a name that you go, oh, this is a guy in the backslide of his career. Why is he still fighting?
Yeah, I mean, he's just had injury issues. I mean, that's the only thing that's really held him back. I mean, otherwise, we'd be talking to him about, like we do about DJ and Anderson Silva. It's just those injuries caught him, especially in the knees. So now, I mean, if Dominic is healthy, you make that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do the super fight if...
Does Cejudo need another... Cejudo needs another win before you do that, or do you think strike while the iron's hot?
For him, strike while the iron's hot, I mean, depending on who you want to pair him up against, because, I mean, essentially, DJ is going to come back for that title at some point. Now, would you make DJ fight somebody before an immediate rematch? Or no?
Oh, no,
I mean, no. I wouldn't, so you put him right in there. But if he's not going to be healthy for a while, you don't want to have your champion on the shelf, just, waiting. There's no purpose of that.
Right.
So I could see if all parties involved, there's nobody healthy enough, then you go up. But if that's the case, I would say I'd like to see TJ fight Rafael Assunção for the bantamweight belt. I think that he's definitely earned a title shot. I just know that he has not been given one yet. So you could definitely do that fight if you want to avoid the super fight. But it just all depends on who's coming down to that weight class, and is there somebody that's at 145 that wants to try dropping to 135?
And it does seem like, what is it, WME, the new owners of UFC, like they're very much get as much money as possible right now.
Yeah.
Like they don't seem very patient. They don't seem like they're really letting Dana build stuff up. Like it's give me the highest profile fight right now.
Well, I think now, especially because they're going to make the transition from Fox to ESPN, that's going to play a factor in too. And I think they really just want to get their name out and just whatever you can do to get casual fans to buy in. Because the mainstream ones, like, I don't miss a fight unless there's
unless it's a bad card that we're looking at and just say, doesn't look that good.
Yeah, even then I'll try keeping an eye on it online. But I watch most fights I can, no matter what. So you want to try getting the ones that just watch it when it's McGregor. You want to get the ones that watch it when it's just Lesnar or Rousey. That's the fight the fans that I think they're really trying to gear towards and saying, hey, we got other people, come check them out. It's just a matter of you're trying to put them against the best fighters possible. Instead of just worrying about the matchups for your division, you're just really kind of looking at emphasis on like big fights.
So you need something like you had when Ronda was making her run in UFC, where it was like, clips and highlights of her knockouts and her wins were showing up in every sports show on the planet. What do you got for that lately with UFC? Not much.
No, but
you'll have a highlight or two, but nothing that like it's on loop on SportsCenter for like 8 hours a day.
Yeah, you haven't had any really crazy knockouts lately.
No.
Anything like super wild that has been like, oh my god, did you see that? And you're like calling everybody up at like 1
It's
o'clock
not.
in the morning.
The insert UFC star's knockout fits in an Instagram video.
Unless you're throwing a railing at a bus.
Yeah.
Which I mean, we'll just segue.
I was just gonna say, how's that for a segue?
I'm gonna segue into just very quickly. TJ definitely earned his king of the bantamweights right now. I want to see him fight Cruz. If he can't do it, Rafael Assunção is the one I want to see fight after, and then we can talk super fight. But we have to get into the news that kind of overshadowed the card a bit.
Yeah.
The return of Conor McGregor.
Oh boy.
To 155.
Oh boy.
To fight Khabib.
Russia versus Ireland.
I tell you what, that is a dream fight if they can stay healthy.
Yeah, I feel like with these two, and if you're not a hardcore UFC fan, the rabid fan base that is Conor McGregor's fans and the rabid fan base that is Khabib's fans, I almost feel like this fight should be like in neutral territory in Europe someplace.
And there's also seems like there's a rabid fan base of anti-Conor McGregor fans.
Yeah.
Like there's almost 3 fan bases.
Yeah. Because let's not forget the one fight, I forget which pay-per-view it was, but they were in Vegas and in Ireland. Yes, it was Conor versus Jose Aldo in Vegas. Conor knocked him out, and then all of Ireland, it felt like, proceeded to, and I know you guys will get this, proceeded to shut down the Vegas Strip.
Yes, some of the stories about what went on.
Like you just see that, like you can
crazy.
go back and find the video of like after the fight where like they're just streaming out into the Strip, into the middle of traffic on the Vegas Strip, and all of traffic is just stopping.
You don't have wilder fan bases than Conor McGregor's.
No,
none.
No,
I will argue. I mean, depends on where you are, but the ones that travel.
They're close to being like they're probably
like
the closest
deadheads.
Analogy to soccer fan. Though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like soccer fan. Yeah.
They've done soccer chants in the fights.
Deadheads meet soccer fan. That's what Conor McGregor's fan base is.
I remember this vividly.
And that's not a diss for anybody listening.
No,
that is a compliment.
I'm saying that because soccer fans are intense.
Oh, they're nuts.
Yeah.
No, but they've done. I remember now. They've done soccer chants in the middle of Conor fights, where and I'm like, are they doing a soccer chant?
No, they do that during the prelims. I mean, they are so rabid and supportive of Conor that when you're fighting him, you're gonna be fighting the crowd.
They turn the televised weigh-ins into a circus.
Yeah,
because it's just outrageous. They're booing everyone that's not named Conor McGregor.
So all through Conor's kind of rise, I don't want to say I was a big fan per se, but I just was like, oh man, this guy's going to be huge. Like I felt like I was one of the few. I thought he was going to beat Aldo. I thought he was going to beat Dos Anjos. There's something about Khabib, man. He's a bad dude. Like
it's because he fights bears.
Yeah, I will just say this: there's just certain people that when you see them, they're a fighter, and that there's just an aura about them.
You see it if you pull up the ad they're running on Facebook and on TV right now for this fight, where it's a clip from UFC on Fox or whatever the show they've got, where Daniel Cormier is asking Khabib via satellite. This was after the whole incident in Brooklyn. Khabib, what happened with Artem? And Khabib pauses and says nothing, and then just gets this evil, Dr. Evil smirk on his face.
It's classic. Like the whole promo they have for the fight right now is amazing. Like if you have not seen the trailer for
How do you feel, though? So a big topic of conversation seemed about the fact that they used the bus incident in the video. Where are you on that?
I did not like it, and I don't like it that you got a title shot. I will be straight up about this.
But I think that's opening a can of worms.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
We're talking precedent is now set.
Because we were discussing this when the incident was going on. What do you do with this incident? Because nothing like this had ever happened before. Yes, you've had horrible incidents with fighters and stuff going on in the weeks leading up to a fight, but you had nothing to the extent of things were thrown at another fighter.
And he hurt other fighters.
Yeah, he
and
hurt
also,
Chiesa. Was it Chiesa and Ray Borg?
Yes.
wasn't one of the girls.
Chiesa was one. He got glass in the eye. I remember that. And then, one of the female fighters, Namajunas, almost got hit.
Yeah, Namajunas almost got hit.
She got hurt, but ended up fighting anyway, right?
She was good. Like, stuff got near, but she was fine.
Yeah, but just the fact that you did that, I mean, okay, you get caught up in the moment, you do something real crazy. I get it. But at the same token, if you're the face of the franchise, and let's not kid around, Conor runs the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the moment he signed for that Mayweather fight, he transcended UFC. They can't control. Like, if they're going to make money off of him, they can't control him.
No, they can't. He just kind of has a free pass to do what he wants. But I guess I look at it, I'm more of a traditionalist about it, is like, okay, you did this in public. This was such a bad look on the sport and on you. That why are we rewarding you with a title shot? And the only reason is he's a draw.
Well, so it was such a bad situation that if I remember right, the state of New York impounded his plane at the airport.
Yeah.
Well, and look at what Dana said, and that's another thing that I think behind the scenes, I think Dana's in a weird spot.
Oh yeah,
it's not like it used to be. But I just feel like you can't say some of this. Like if you go back to what he said following that incident, he was like, "I'm done. I'm out of the Conor McGregor business. Like, that doesn't fly."
Yeah, and then
I think that goes back to what we said before. You really don't have anybody else that you can lean on to support UFC. You look at back in the day where you had your Matt Hughes, your Matt Serras, your BJ Penns, your Chuck Liddell's. Okay, if Chuck Liddell's injured, hey, I've still got BJ Penn and Matt Hughes. You look at UFC now, Conor McGregor's in here. Oh, geez, who am I going to go with to be a really huge draw?
But what I would have done for that card, since now it's been made official, I would have had Khabib fight Dustin Poirier for the belt, and your undercard match would have been Conor versus Diaz 3.
Yes.
They want to do that. If you want your hype match, let him go.
And then Conor and Khabib win, then you've got. But I think again, just like what we just talked about, they want to because WWE is seeing dollar signs.
Yeah, the iron's hot.
Yeah,
you gotta strike when it is.
Sorry.
No.
What's the next McGregor fight going to be like? That's because I feel like he has to top himself every time.
Funny thing is, if Conor beats Khabib and then Diaz wins his next fight, it would be Conor versus Diaz 3.
It would make sense to do that fight if they all win. I don't know if that's going to happen, though.
Stars are aligning.
See, this is where you have your rising star, because you want to talk about guys that should be mentioned on like the stars that really draw fans to watch fights. Khabib should be there.
Absolutely.
I mean, if he's not in the discussion, like for me as a hardcore fight fan, I know he's on a card. I'm watching.
He's getting there. He's not there yet as being like a transcending star, but he's on the way.
He's on the way, but
he is for MMA fans.
Yeah,
he's not. I think what he's saying is he hasn't crossed over.
He hasn't crossed over yet.
No. Like, my brother-in-law has no idea who he is. My brother-in-law will watch a fight every now and then when one of the big names is fighting. He'll know about it, but he probably the first time he's heard of Khabib was this.
I think he has the very good potential to cross over with this fight. If let's just say he knocks Conor out in the first 30 seconds. First 30 seconds, Conor gets dropped on a right hand from Khabib. Done. Crossover. Here comes the rocket. Get ready to ride it.
Well, it all depends, too, on a couple of different things. If he finishes Conor quick, which I don't think is going to happen. I think one of two things is going to happen in this fight. Conor is either going to just put so much pressure on him early with just striking to keep him at a distance, he's not going to be able to grapple with him. And Conor does have the chance to knock him out. I mean, his left hand is notorious.
And his counter-punching in MMA is amazing.
It is. But Khabib is going to want to grind it out. He's going to just try slamming him all over the cage and maul him. And he's going to take his time with it. Like, that's the thing, because I think Khabib wants to make a statement. And not for the simple reason of I'm a better fighter. It's like for all the stuff that has happened outside the cage. This has been you want to talk about a release of just energy and anger, you're going to see this in this fight. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's a selling point, because when they start doing the, UFC embeddeds, and they do all the background stories, and they really just make this thing into a spectacle, because it's going to be. Like, the whole month of September, this is all you're going to hear about on any MMA show, is the buildup for this. When casual fans start getting wind of this, and they see how Khabib is, 25-0?
Something like that, yeah.
And he's fought everybody they've thrown at him. He's never gone I won't fight anybody. And he just dominates. I mean, the Ikinta fight showed, I guess a lot of people said, okay, there's a weakness now to him, and they found a way that Tony Ferguson would have a better chance of winning, or Conor, just somebody that's more strike based. I don't know. I didn't really see it per se, but I think that you're going to tell me Khabib is not going to show up for that fight. I'll say you're crazy. He is going to be in the prime mentality and condition to just make his star being born.
And it also matters if he lets Conor get inside of his head, because that's exactly what Dos Anjos and Aldo did. Like, you could tell immediately Conor got in their heads. But that's going to be the key. If Khabib can just sit back with that grin on his face and just be like, you know what, I'm going to let him do whatever crazy stuff he's going to do.
And just to correct you quick, it wasn't Dos Anjos, it was Chad Mendes, the one you're thinking of.
Mendez was what I was thinking of. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
confused there a little bit.
But I mean, that's the whole thing. You're going to have such a highly contested bout between this. I mean, this is going to bring anybody that's ever wanted to watch a UFC fight. This is the one you bring them in for. I think it's overshadowing, though, if it's still going to happen, though, the Poirier-Diaz fight, because now that's kind of gone by the wayside, because both those guys claim they didn't know about the Khabib Conor fight.
Right.
And I know that one's supposed to headline the card in New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the November.
Yeah, which I don't know if Diaz is still in for. So, I mean, there's so much influx of, like, what
I went
can
to
happen.
the UFC website today, and it's not listed. It's still not listed.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, I could definitely understand their point, because with obviously what happened, like you said, the Conor situation is such a polarizing thing, because you're one side or against it, no matter what. Either you're like, okay, he was caught up in the fit of anger, he shouldn't have done it, but he shouldn't be held against him, or, what the hell are you giving him a title shot for?
Yeah, but that was kind of premeditated, too.
Oh,
I mean, the
it
whole
was.
thing was just, like, there should have been some, I think, even some John Jones level punishment.
But my question is, they had a whole camera crew following him, too. So it's like, you almost wonder how much of it was like WWE style. You almost wonder. I mean, I think they're just following.
Because the camera crew was already there for the embedded series, which we know with the UFC embedded YouTube series, they're on them like a documentary series.
Yeah, but you almost wonder if he was trying to play it up for the camera a little bit and then just kind of went haywire.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost wonder. I mean, there's so much you can speculate about it, but at the end of the day, he's got his title shot. It's going to be a great fight if everybody stays healthy.
He's seeing dollar signs.
Oh yeah, I mean, the UFC's seeing dollar signs, and this is going to be the biggest fight of the year thus far.
And if you paid, what was it, $400 billion for a company, you'd probably want to make as much money as quickly as possible.
Oh, absolutely. If you paid for that deal, you want to be booking super fight after super fight after super fight.
Now, in the same, I think, are they talking for the November fight? Are they talking about possibly having GSP and Anderson Silva?
The name's been thrown out there.
There was talk. For me, that window's passed.
You're out of your mind.
It's almost like Mayweather-Pacquiao. It's like, all right, why did you wait 10 years to do this?
And guess what? They still did a 4.1 pay-per-view buy.
Yeah. I remember watching that, and I'm going, why did I pay for this? Like, that was my thing, because at this point, you just know Mayweather was just he just dominated that fight.
But I think doing that's smart, though. And again, I know that it's just it's just kind of being talked about, that nothing is official. But that's a great fight to put it on, though, because you've got, have it as a co-main event on something like that.
If it's a co, I'm definitely down. If it's the main, no, it's.
But tell me, GSP versus Anderson Silva doesn't make that card that much more. I mean, you just added probably 450,000 buys.
Maybe. I'll say maybe, because here's the thing. You are right. It's going to draw in some crowds. I don't know if it's going to draw that much, because the thing is, GSP has been out of the limelight so much. Over the past,
name. He's a name.
He's a name. No, he's a name, but he's been gone for so long. And then after his last fight, he disappeared after he bulked up to 185. So now you're going to say he's going to drop down. Like, what way is this going to be at? Is he still going to be at 185? You would imagine so. I can't see Silva dropping down to 170 or less.
Well, I had heard GSP liked being bigger.
If he did like being bigger, then why is there all that talk about him going to 155? See, like that. Then I agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay, so I heard that before the fight, but then obviously being bigger, he was slower, and one of GSP's things was his speed. And
granted, he beat Bisping, and me, Bisping is my guy. It pains me to say it, but he won that fight outright. But at the same token, yeah, he did look slower. He didn't look like the old school GSP. And then I'm almost wondering, like, okay, I know Silva is on the back end of his career. Is this really going to be something to watch, or is this going to be something you're going to like? It was nice in a video game, but not.
I think on a mainstream level, that's the fight that will bring in your casual fans.
It's
because I don't think any of your casual fans are going to know who Dustin Poirier is. They know Nate Diaz. They know he's one of the Diaz brothers.
They know Diaz. Yeah, Diaz.
that.
Yeah, they know Diaz. So I mean, that's enough to sell the card alone.
But you put GSP versus Anderson Silva. I mean, that's you guys said it before I had a chance to. That's Pacquiao Mayweather. You know.
Oh, and it definitely would. I definitely would drive the sales up. I gotta say. There's so much that's going to be happening with the UFC. I mean, moving forward, though.
They need it, though.
They need it, and it's going to be the shot in the arm. But let us know what you think, though. What's your thoughts on all the UFC moving and shaking from 227? We want to know. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for segment number 3 on this week's ODPH, and we're going to talk a little baseball. And since we have the baseball guru, Ryan Bombard, in studio, Ryan, why don't you kick us off with it?
Yeah, it's known in my house that I love my wife, my kids, and baseball, namely the Phillies. And my wife would even say not necessarily in that order.
Oh, boy.
So
I don't touch those kind of
So,
subjects.
so I have to say I laughed and I felt awful. So a couple of weeks ago, you guys were talking about the trade deadline.
Sure.
And you were, I think you were talking about the trade bonus money.
Yeah.
And literally, I'm such a dork because I had the same questions you guys kind of had, and the only reason I knew is because I looked it up and I had the whole description.
Sure.
And I felt like such a dork because I'm like, I never want to be that guy, but I'm like, I'm just, hey, just to clear it up, like this is how that actually
yeah,
goes.
yeah,
Go
we
for it.
don't hesitate. If we ever screw something up, please let us know. Hashtag
So-
ODPH.
Because I thought the same thing you did, where the money that you have to pay, like, so you have this Japanese pitcher,
Yeah.
and you got to pay Japan some crazy amount, this team, just to be able to talk to him.
I'll say Dice Carry was the record,
Right.
like $50 million.
Well, the bonus pool money, just because I know the Phillies have been dancing around, moving some of that money around, and it's basically because there's been a lot of talk of an international play. Basically what happens is, so let's just I'm using the Yankees, not to pick on the Yankees, but they're one of the bigger market teams.
Go ahead.
Will spend the money. So, like, in theory, they could go down to, like, some third world is, I don't think is fair, but, you know, go down to, like, Venezuela, could go down to Colombia, and they could literally create, like, a camp, you know, a training facility.
Sure.
And literally pull in all these, because down, like, it's been
There's
you know,
a lot- there's a lot of people.
Dominican, like the South America, like baseball is their way
Yeah,
out of
it's
you
life
know?
down there. I mean, it's such a popular sport.
So my understanding is that this international trade money is basically a salary cap. So like a team like the Yankees can't go down, open a training facility, get 15 different, you know, 16, 17-year-old baseball phenoms from South America, pay them all their minimum, you know, pay them these, and it's almost like football. So
Yeah.
they'll pay them, a lot of times they slot in at certain, due to the collective bargaining. But then the baseball teams can give them a signing bonus. So it's much like the NFL where it's like, okay, we're going to sign you to a contract. This is the number that goes against our, in baseball, it's the luxury tax.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, okay, Ken, you're this 17-year-old pitching phenom from Colombia. I come down, I sign you for $7,000, but give you like a $3 million bonus to come back to the United States and to sign and be in my thing. So, you know, a team like the Yankees could go and they could hand them out like candy.
I'll say, because you use a scenario, Yankees go down there, and then you've also got, let's just say, the Kansas City Royals or something like that, who not as marquee a name internationally. You got a pitcher standing there going, do I want to sign with the Yankees, who I've heard of, or the Royals, who I don't even know where that is?
But also the fact that you know,
If they get into a bidding war, you know the Yankees, Red
Yeah.
Sox,
Right.
Cubs stand alone.
But it's also teams, and again, I don't mean to pick on, because the Phillies are kind of in the same boat too. But it's basically to stop them from going and circumventing the luxury tax. You could go down and sign all these young kids, give them big fat bonuses that flies under the radar. But meanwhile, you've got all these wicked talented dudes under like minimum contracts.
Right.
And so that's what that pool money is. So basically, you can only, like, so if you're the Yankees, you only have, let's say, $4.25 million. You know, that will. Sorry, I told you I'd go way dorky.
It's all good.
But also,
This is my
if you-
angry face.
If you play it, but the Japan thing, it's interesting because the bonus money like doesn't even count for them.
Right.
Like you can throw the farm, you can back the Brinks truck up because as long as they played in another professional league that's recognized in which the Japanese baseball league is. So
Right.
like there's nothing, there's no handcuffs there. You can go throw as much money as you want at those guys.
Right.
But yeah, the baseball thing, and I was surprised you didn't hear about it until I mentioned it. So, and again, by the way, I won't bore everybody with Phillies talk. I could sit here and talk Phillies like crazy. So if you ever have the urge for a Phillies podcast, ring me up. But I want to talk about, so interesting thing happened during a Dodgers-Braves game. Okay, and this just got my wheels spinning. Simpson, one of the broadcasters. So basically, before the game, the Dodgers came out. The Dodgers players, including Chase Utley. That was why this whole story came out.
Sure.
And Jason Mott, you've heard of him, a relief pitcher, used to play for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Bounced around a little bit. Well, he's got this foundation for cancer. It's called K Cancer.
Okay.
Like strikeout cancer.
Right.
And so basically, before this game, and I think there was something going on, cancer awareness or whatever. So all the Dodgers came out. And they even didn't even have their pants. Like I think some of them wore just regular pants. Like I don't even know if they had baseball pants on, like their uniform pants, but they all were wearing this T-shirt. And just baseball batting practice was really casual. And the Braves announcers like went off about how unprofessional Chase Utley is and how what the Dodgers were doing were embarrassment to the game. Like they went off and totally blasted the Dodgers organization. Like they had to come out and apologize later. And it was just interesting because, and again, we've talked, like you kind of grew up in an old school baseball household.
Yeah.
This whole thing of playing the game the right way, and it's, and you can relate it to bat flips, people complaining about bat flips and things like that. I'm amazed at how out of touch old school. I've grown up loving baseball, and I listened to Harry Callis on my big dial radio for years growing up. So I dig the old school stuff, but they're trying to appeal to young viewers, and then they're doing stuff like that. Like they wore, to not even have the awareness to just go off and blast these guys when they were actually doing something cool to represent something. Because Kike Hernandez from the Dodgers, his father or father-in-law had just been diagnosed with cancer. And so it was like a whole team unity thing, which me as a spectator, I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. And that's where it's interesting, and I'd love to get your take. Like, that's where old school baseball is so out of touch.
See, for me, and you're right. I mean, my late father, God rest his soul, baseball has been in my family, like, for watching and just seeing the sport firsthand.
And how much was I around you? And I think, like, I don't think I ever talked to your dad not about baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I could come down in the basement and talk baseball with him for like an hour. We don't even think he knew my name, and he wouldn't talk about anything else.
It wouldn't matter. Like, you walk down and Papaduro would just be like, just immediately start going baseball conversation. I think it was like, I don't even think he asked for anybody's name. It's just like, okay, we're talking baseball. Here we go. I think for baseball, though, it's so rich in its tradition that I think it's also its gift and its curse. That I think baseball wants to stay, where it is the pastime, and there's just the unwritten rules, you don't bat flip if somebody's too close to the plate, or
you don't cross the mound if you ground it out.
Yeah, they're so caught up in that tradition that I think for them, they're having the toughest time of all the major sports to evolve, in my opinion. It's not to say the game is wrong, because it isn't. But I think if you're, like you're saying, you're trying to get new fans, trying to grow with the times, and I think that they just like saying, no, this is how it's always been, this is how it always will be. That I think it's tough. And when you're talking about, the announcers criticizing about batting practice, it's practice.
And and I'm not zeroing in on this. I felt like this incident was just like the epitome of that mentality. I mean, look at John Smoltz, and I like John Smoltz. I was a Phillies fan, but I had a ton of respect for John Smoltz. Like, you listen to him do a national broadcast. Like, these are the people selling baseball's story, and all he does is complain about the state of baseball nowadays. And it's almost like you're wondering, like, dude, why are you doing baseball games if you don't like it that much?
Because I think that, like you say, there's players that grow up in it and they just don't want to give it up, like their vision of how they did it. And like I said, I think they struggle to evolve with the times, so to speak. Also, culturally, I mean, look at you're talking about bat flips. A lot of that is about the Latin players who played the game a different way. Like, if you like Joey Bats, I know that he's very polarizing, but like so many of these Latin players, like,
that was what you did. I
Right.
mean, so it's not even.
right.
It's not a disrespect. It's just that's how they grew up playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the batting practice thing. I know I'm the youngest of the panel here, but up until last year, I've been to 5 or 6 Yankee games. Up until last year, I couldn't tell you the number of times you know what? I can tell you the number of times I care about batting practice before last year. 0. Because they're going up there, they're hitting balls, they're getting ready for the game. Great. Up until Aaron Judge showed up last year, half or 3/4 of the Yankee universe didn't care about batting practice.
Yeah, I used to walk in late all the time.
Now it's like a feature, advertising thing on the Yes Network. Hey, batting practice, starts on the Yes Network at 6:00 or whatever it is. So they don't work here. The bat flip thing, there are times that I have issue with it. There, Jose Bautista in that moment in the playoffs, where because I was watching that game live against the Texas Rangers, where it's back and forth. It's like a Mike Tyson in his prime fight. And in the heat of the moment and him hitting that home run, I fully understand that one.
Thank you.
I was all for it. I'm like, you watching this game, what they just went through, if memory serves, the benches cleared at one point before that home run. Twice.
It was intense. That's why I remember when he hit that and did it, I'm sitting there thinking, I would have flipped my bat and then did cartwheels. I would have had fireworks coming out of my butt.
It would have been like the Naked Gun, home run celebration. If you haven't seen that movie, you need to watch and you'll understand what I'm talking about.
You can find the clip on YouTube. It's on the MLB YouTube channel. That is the loudest I've ever heard in a stadium in my entire life. Now, the times I don't get it or don't understand it is when you see a player and this is the first one that pops to mind, Yasiel Puig, where he hits a double or a single and he's flipping the bat and I'm like,
but
in the moment?
But I think
really?
in that situation though, it's just how they grow up playing the games. And if somebody's used to doing that, they're probably not thinking it's disrespectful.
Right.
It's just okay. I'm just having fun.
I don't it doesn't bother me. I don't get angry, but I'm like, okay.
No, but then you always kind of think you always hear announcers somebody's gonna get beaned for that one or some kind of disrespect thing. And I think it's just they have a tough time evolving. Which is kind of weird because the game has been
right.
played.
That's why I like broadcasters like Ken Singleton on the Yes Network. I know we're Yankee fans and we're slightly biased, but you listen to a guy like Ken Singleton who played in the 70s. He will reference how it was when he played and playing for the Orioles and whatever, but he won't go and then go, it's a detriment on what's being played today. There are times he sees something he doesn't like, but that's just human nature. He won't go, back in my day we used to play this way and this is how it should be. No, he's like, hey, when I play, this is how we did it. This is my experience.
Yeah, because times change. So either you adapt or you fall off.
Yeah.
And I mean, this isn't I don't sit there and I don't see half of that stuff as so disrespectful.
No.
I mean, it's just times have changed.
Well, I was worried. The Phillies had a walk-off home run. When was it? Friday night or something? And Maikel Franco hit one, and it was funny because he hit it, and he knew it was almost like a Carlton Fisk thing where he watched it, but he was watching it get out, just try to get out, and it just made it over. And as soon as it made it over, he flipped his bat, and everybody went nuts, and it was this cool thing. And I literally the first thing I thought was oh God, I hope there's no drama. That was such a cool moment.
Yeah.
And it was you felt what he was doing and what he was feeling, and he did it.
Right,
and
it's a high tension moment. Is this going to go?
But then I'm just sitting there is that going to be the story now? Next time they play, is he going to get plunked or something because he flipped his? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I just think it's stupid. They're playing a game.
As Odor of the Texas Rangers at the time proved, baseball players have a long memory.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think for that it kind of is, but I kind of flip it to a football analogy. I think Ray Lewis said because when Peyton Manning was going on his crazy touchdown streak that he was doing, setting the record for, and somebody was like, "Oh, aren't you going to get mad that he did it?" And he goes, "No, because you know what? If you don't let him score, this never happens."
Exactly,
and that's the thing. And I know that guess what? If you don't give up a home run, it doesn't happen. But if you do, and somebody does that, guess what? When your guy does it back to him, nobody can say nothing. It's just like I say, it's all about the evolving of the sport.
Because I'm very involved in youth sports. I actually run our local little league and I coach and all that stuff. Shout out to Nichols Tioga 10U All-Stars who won the Owego tournament.
Ooh. Shout out.
But in dealing with kids, when they're playing in the backyard and they're screwing around, guess what they're doing to have fun? When they're doing baseball, they're doing bat flips.
Say bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 2 strikes, Game 7 of the World Series.
And then they're more worried about how their bat flip looks. And again, I'm not, but I'm just saying, these are young people that are finding that entertaining, And again, as far as all the different things they're trying to get the game to evolve, until they limit commercial breaks.
Yeah.
Two things. Pitching commercial breaks during pitching changes.
Mm-hmm.
And the times that games start, especially in the postseason.
Yes.
That is like. To me, I get so frustrated when they're talking about Major League Baseball trying to find ways to appeal to younger fans and stuff. And I'm like, you're starting playoff games and World Series games at 8:30 at night.
I'll say the one I can give an example of. I don't remember the year, so don't try and ask me what year it was. There was a Yankees-Detroit Tigers game a number of years ago. It's within this century, and it's within the last decade, where they were in Detroit, supposed to play Detroit. So, 7:05 Central Time, 8:05 Eastern Time, rain delay. Game doesn't start until I want to say it was like 10:45, 10:50 Eastern. And I'm sitting there listening to the broadcast. I had school the next morning or something. I'm listening to the radio broadcast on my video. And they're like, and Susan Waldman couldn't believe they're going to start a ball game at 10:45 Eastern. And I'm like, yeah, it's 10:45. It's 9:45. Their game's not going to game didn't get over until almost 2 a.m.
Yeah, and my son is 9, going on 10. He's a crazy baseball fan, and during the playoffs, like he's at school, like he can't stay up until 11 o'clock, 11:30
I'll
midnight.
say 03 ALCS. I was a freshman in high school, so Aaron Boone's hitting that walk off. I'm getting told, hey, come up to bed. And I'm like, no, things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, it just comes back to baseball. Just needs to find ways to evolve with the times. And I'm not saying go completely radical and change everything.
Right.
But you have to realize that how the game was played in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and 2000s, and so on. Every decade is a little different. But that is just the sign of the times. That's just evolution to a lesser degree. And you just have to go, okay, you can have elements of the sport that stay the same. Your rally caps.
Yeah.
Stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's a sport. It's supposed to be fun. Exactly. I mean, granted, anytime, and I've said this before on the show too, anytime a sport becomes a business, it always gets funny. And not, ha-ha funny. It's just things change, and then people start, getting away from the core concept. But if somebody's doing it just to have fun, and they're not disrespecting, like it'd be one thing if somebody bat flipped their bat into the other team's dugout. Okay, that would be like, all right,
benches are clear. You're not first,
and I'm still okay with that. Like I'm still okay. You want to, but the whole thing of, I'm more concerned. I'm even fine with the players. I mean, I get annoyed when who was the one, the Braves catcher? He played for, oh my gosh,
McCann.
Yes, McCann was the one back when he played with the Braves that met.
Yeah,
the players up the third base line while he's trotting around with a home run.
Yeah,
I
remember that one.
To me, that was just like, okay, dude, you're just a sore loser. Guy just jacked one.
Yeah, it's like chalk up the L and keep it moving.
Well, see, and they are doing things slowly to kind of modernize the game and make it a little more fun. I remember watching baseball games for years, and guy hits a monster home run. I remember there was one in Toronto, late 2000s, where he hit one into the uppermost deck in Rogers Center, and it was like, oh my gosh, how far was that thing? Never found out. They've introduced the technology now where, hey, Aaron Judge, Paul Goldschmidt, whoever hits a monster home run within 5 minutes, you're getting hey, here's how far that thing went.
Not even just how far it went,
right?
The launch angle, the
velocity, and everything. Which that's fun to see. It's like,
I think it's awesome.
How far? It no longer says, how far did it go? Well, let's just guess.
I don't know. It's like one of my favorite postseason moments was when Carlos Beltran was on that tear when he was with Houston in the postseason. And he was hitting them, and sportscasters still were 3 days later saying, "Yep, that ball is still in orbit."
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just having fun. That's not making fun of the other team. It's like baseball. Just in closing with the segment, is baseball just needs to find a way to just adapt. You can keep your traditions, but you can modernize it. And if you're going to be chastising about batting practice, take it back to the example. They're doing it to promote cancer research and awareness for charity.
And it was a cool personality thing. The fans that knew what was going on loved it. And I think baseball right now is great. Everybody's complaining about, it's just home runs and strikeouts. I don't know. I've seen some pretty boring games where there were a lot of 6-3
baseball goes through these cycles.
Yeah.
Pop-ups. I'll deal with, a 3-2 game with 11 strikeouts. You know what I mean?
For every 5-10 years, you have a lot of home runs. There's 5-10 years where there's a lot of strikeouts and a lot of pitching and averages.
But that's like any sport though, because you want to compare it to other sports like football. Yeah, we go from the West Coast offense to the ground and pound of the running game to
spread.
I mean, it all depends on how it evolves, and you got to either adapt to the times or you lose it. Baseball is one that will catch up eventually, but I will say it's probably the one that's most behind.
Real quick, one more last point you said about will catch up eventually. Essentially, the whole bat flip thing and the whole personality on the diamond, that's touchdown celebrations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Think about how long ago that was.
Yeah.
How long ago was the actual touchdown celebrations conversation. Like, it's not even an issue now.
No.
And that just shows to me how far behind the times Major League Baseball is.
Yeah.
Like, they're fighting a fight that NFL fought
Like a
over a
decade
decade ago.
A decade, yeah, but that's just how they are because the traditionalists don't want things to change. But once you find the way to change, it'll get caught up. And still, we're fans of the sport. We're not saying anything's wrong with it, but it's just if you want to do comparisons, they have a little catching up to do. But the games are always entertaining, and once you get down to the core element, it's always fun. And that's why we're fans, and that's why we sit on here and talk about it each week.
Absolutely.
But let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPH. What's your thoughts on the current state of baseball? Go Yankees. We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. Ryan's going to throw something at me because I didn't say go Phillies. You're listening to the ODPH.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs feeling, shudder running up, her spine spinning, long day to a long night, but I'm not stopping till I get it right.
Coming back for the final segment on this week's ODPH with Ryan Bombard in studio. So, Pat, why don't you kick it off with that local minute?
Well, it's funny. Last week we were discussing how the Binghamton Devils had a head coaching vacancy, and we were wondering who was going to get it. We were kind of wondering how long it was going to be. All of like 6 days.
Yeah.
Wasn't long. The Binghamton Devils have found their head coach in Mark Dennehy, who had previously spent the last 13 years as head coach of Merrimack College. So, congratulations to him. Welcome to Binghamton. Hope you're ready for a good time.
Absolutely. Binghamton Devils hockey is quickly approaching.
Yep.
Ryan, I know hockey is on your radar.
A little bit.
That's all right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Because, I mean, Pound knows I'm such a big Rangers fan.
Yes.
That, like, for me, I'm counting down to opening day at Madison Square Garden.
So I think the entire area knows you're a Rangers fan.
Yeah, because I don't exactly am shy about it.
No, you're not.
I don't even care I butchered that statement. I don't even... I am Rangers Town. Like, I'm just going to say that. Shout out. But no, when hockey is coming around and we talk about experiences, I mean, for me, hockey live is arguably the best sport to go see.
I'm
Yes.
with you there, too.
Yes.
A live hockey game is a blast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's few things to describe it, especially like playoff hockey. I've been down to MSG for the Rangers.
Oh, Lord.
That will take years off you.
It took years off of me watching it on TV.
Yeah, so let alone, like, you know, I don't even know how old I am right now because of that. But it's just, hockey is just such a great sport, too, that we're talking. And I am just super pumped up for the season. I mean, I know on paper the Rangers are not looking good, but it doesn't matter.
No,
We're going to the playoffs.
I'll say
There's always hope.
Need I bring up what the odds were for the Vegas Golden Knights going into last year? There's a shot, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. We're going to do it.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I was just going to say, Dumb and Dumber came in.
There's a shot that's going to happen.
Yep.
Pat, what else you got for the...
So looking at the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, they had won their game the other night against Richmond in Richmond, 5-1. Congratulations to them. They are finishing out they're in the middle of a 3-game series at Richmond. They're playing tonight as we record at 6:35 in Richmond, and then tomorrow night, being Thursday at Richmond, 6:35, and then they go to Reading to play the Phillies for a 3-game series before returning home next week to play a 3-game set against Akron, and then a 3-game series against Reading next weekend at home. Times on bingrp.com.
Ryan, what do you think about the Rumble Ponies?
As far as what?
The experience?
I think it's been cool. I'm leery. I'm curious as to how attendance has been. It has been fun to be. I've been to a couple of games. It's been fun to be around the ballpark with Tebow there. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it introduced people to a good time it is at NYSEG Stadium, and more people are still coming out.
I will say we can't speak to the whole season, but the games we have been to, we were at one a couple weeks ago where they set, what was it, like a 26-year attendance record for Binghamton baseball.
Yeah, they've been breaking some records. I mean, and I think Tebow didn't play a couple of those games too, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the Tebow, I think at that point was already out.
You're right. I think that's right when he hurt his hand.
Yes,
and he was out for the year. But going to the games, like we talk about, evolving with the times for baseball, the Rumble Ponies have done so much for that stadium and I've said this on previous podcasts too, it's not so much going to a game, it's like going out. It's an experience. Mm-hmm. It's an event.
It's like because they keep some of the stuff you're used to with the contests and, the T-shirt tosses and what have you. in the spell Hanahi, right? But then they've also incorporated some new stuff where it's like, oh, hey, trivia on the video board where you can win a prize and stuff like that.
Yeah, they've done that, and plus the renovations they've done to I always call it the party deck, but they've done elevations where it's like you can go out, and not so much like if you're going with fans that are not really into baseball, but just like fans that are just doing something like on a Friday night because everybody's like, oh, there's nothing to do in the area, blah, blah, blah. Silence. I don't want to hear that nonsense. You can go there and you can have a good time and catch a game and maybe get somebody into baseball. And like for me, and I've said this before, and it's just going to be relevant because Excite Wrestling has a show coming up August 25th at the Legion.
Which I was supposed to be ring announcer for, by the way.
What? And you're not going to be there?
I have a wedding.
Damn. Curses.
Yeah, that's hard. It's real quick. Sorry, sidebar. It's really hard to get a phone call. Hey, buddy. Do you want to be a ring announcer for a pay-per-view? And I'm like, oh, my gosh, yes. What's the date? August 25th? No. And unfortunately, Corey and Mary would not appreciate me bailing on their wedding. I think.
Well, as we said at the beginning of the show, if you don't have Ryan Bombard Entertainment at your wedding, it's just not popping. But getting back to the whole circle and
sorry,
right here,
tangent.
No worries. Going to Excite, that was the first time I've been down to the stadium last year, and I was completely blown away by the experience, and not just so much for the wrestling, but just the overall stadium in general. That like I've gone to more Binghamton Rumble Pony games than I've gone to Binghamton Mets games in many, many years.
Oh yeah.
And for just saying evolving the times, they're making enough changes that they're drawing in new fans. And for fans, I think the attendance is up. I don't know exact numbers, but it just seems like going to the games, there's more people there and there are more people talking about it. There's
right,
like
and just eyeballing the crowd. It's not the older folks, the adults, the seniors. There's teenagers, there's kids, there's babies, there's toddlers. It's a wide range.
My Little League this year, so we do a Little League night every year there. This year we had the most people from our Little League come I think we doubled last year's number and have had more, so it's definitely there's more interest. It's just I hope that and I think they did a great job making it a fun experience. I'm just hoping people will, even if Tebow, whether he's there next year or not, whatever happens, that people will still appreciate what we have there. I do have one bone to pick, and because I used to work for the Binghamton Mets. I was actually a bat boy at one point. I was an usher, and it still always bugged me because, and again, I realized that I'm I'm a big baseball dork, but I always bugged me that they never promoted the baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the first things I do, like we went to, I don't even remember what the teams were, what the team was playing the Rumble Ponies, but like I'm trying to go online and find out, like, all right, it was the Rockies. I think it was the Rockies affiliate.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to look up, like, all right, who are the top prospects? Like, who should be watching out for? Talking about, and there's been some great prospects coming through the Mets system.
Yeah.
And it's just, I've never felt like they've promoted that aspect of it. It's come to the Mets. We're going to have fun. But it's baseball. You've got some great prospects coming through. And it was funny because everybody was interested. I'm sitting there in the stands and I'm looking on my phone and I'm like, oh yeah, this shortstop is like a blue chip prospect. So watch him. He's really good for the other team, which nobody had a clue. But even as I'm talking about it, everybody around me is asking, wait a second, who did you say? Oh, it's the right fielder. He looks really good. Is he one of their prospects? And I'm like, why aren't they promoting
That's
this?
an interesting take because I've never really thought about that. But then again, like I said, I've grown up in baseball, so it's like for me, it's like I don't really look for it so much because I just genuinely, it's like a reflex. Like when I'm going to games, I try studying up on who's there.
Right.
But that's an interesting thing. I mean, and I'm sure, and I know we do get listened to by some people connected with the Rumble Ponies. So I mean, that may be something to.
But it's also a way to make the baseball aspect of it. Like it's really all you're doing is like, hey, we've got the Rockies affiliate coming in. Here are 3 players.
Right. It's something they can do on social media.
That you can watch for. Like, get a chance to see before they make the majors.
Right.
Like this, you know what I mean? And just make it so that way, because that's one thing sometimes you're out there and you're watching one of these minor league baseball games, and it's like kind of a lot of, unless you have a Tebow or there's like a Jose Reyes back in the day.
Right.
But it's a lot of nameless, faceless dudes.
Well, because the one I can remember was when I went to a game with my mom 2 years ago, and they were playing a mini Subway Series down here. They were playing the Trenton Thunder, and Gary Sanchez was catching for him at the time, which I knew who he was. I'd heard the name. I'd heard him coming up through the farm system. There was no promotion for that. Like, hey, like there's a very large Yankee fan contingent in this area, as one would expect. There was like, hey, Yankee fans, we've got one of their top catchers coming up through the system, coming to play here. That like the very next year, he was gone.
It's a very interesting take, like I said. And like I said, I'm sure that somebody hearing us might know somebody, over there passing along to.
Maybe the comeback is maybe you'd be promoting to the people that are already going to the games.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the comeback, and maybe I'm, but I feel like if I knew, I would be more likely to go to more games. I'm a big baseball fan, but I would be more likely to go if I knew, like, oh, tonight the Minnesota Twins' top pitching prospect in their organization is pitching at Binghamton tonight. Like, that would be, oh man, this guy could be cool. It'd be fun to see him. Because again, so do we have time? Can I tell a quick, cool B-Met story? So I was usher, and so this would have been, I was probably 17. So you're talking 97, 98, 96, 97, 98, somewhere in there. And I'm ushering down the first base line, and like first inning, all of a sudden, this gigantic dude comes up, and a lefty, and he puts a laser beam off the Coca-Cola sign on the scoreboard. And there wasn't hardly anybody there. It was like a weeknight game, so it was just, and he hit this ball, and I still think it was going up when it hit the scoreboard. I mean, one of the biggest bombs I've ever seen, and my jaw just dropped, and I'm like, what? What was that? Comes up his second time, gets called looking, jaws with the ump a little bit. Third time comes up, gets called out on strikes, really jaws with the umpire. Fourth time coming, he almost got kicked out there. Fourth time he gets up there, he gets caught. I mean, it was one of those like naked guns where the ball and everything was out of the pitcher's hands, and the umpire rang him up. And he broke his bat over his knee, started throwing stuff out of the dugout, got tossed. It was David Ortiz.
Oh, wow.
And my friend was the opposing bat boy, and I just went to him, and he's going over and getting all the broken bats, getting ready to junk him or whatever. And I said, hey, do you have Ortiz's bat? The guy broke it over his knee and hit the long home run. I said, if you're going to throw it away, like, I would love to have it, just because that was the baddest home run I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so at my parents' house, I have a broken David Ortiz bat from that. And it was also just cool because it was like a spectacle, him getting thrown out of the game. And every batting helmet, every cooler, everything, bats were thrown out on the field. It was awesome. It was just a very cool
We
thing.
remember very vividly what he did to the bullpen phone in Baltimore.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I think the phone still remembers.
But, I mean, that's just something about going to a baseball game. You never know what you're going to see. And, I mean, Ryan, like we say, he is one of the most passionate baseball fans you're ever going to meet. And, like I say, if he's just throwing some ideas out there, hey, this is just something, food for thought.
And especially with social media, and you know this, it's so easy to promote that, and there's so many different avenues. It's not just, you got a 30-second radio ad, that you need to promote what you 2 for Tuesday and $1 hot dogs. I get that, but now you got an opportunity. You got Instagram, you got Facebook, you got Twitter, and don't be afraid to promote. Like, hey, we've got these guys coming in from the other team, that are worth seeing. I don't know, just a thought.
Hey, it's food for thought, and like I say, it's just coming from fans talking. So, like I said, it's not a bash by any means. It's just, hey, we're passionate, and we want to see the best happen for the team.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to see that place packed every night.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So let's kick off rounding those bases. Pad, what do you got for us?
Well, we're getting a little closer to the NBA season, so it's never too early to talk NBA games. Of course, a lot of fans will say, I'm not really watching the NBA until Christmas because that's when the games really start kicking in and really start mattering. Funny you should say that because the NBA released its Christmas Day games. Starting off the day, you've got the Milwaukee Bucks versus the New York Knicks at 12 o'clock Eastern on ESPN in New York.
Okay.
Then at 3 o'clock on ABC, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Houston Rockets in Houston. 5:30, you have the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Boston Celtics in Boston.
Okay.
8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, mark your calendars. The Los Angeles Lakers will visit the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
And then to close out the night, you've got the Portland Trailblazers visiting the Utah Jazz at 10:30 Eastern on ESPN. All of those times Eastern.
I tell you, the game I'm most excited to watch,
Milwaukee and the Knicks.
Well, yeah, because I'm the Knicks fan.
And it's a Greek freak.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows with the Knicks if they'll have Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant by then. I know, I'm wishful thinking. Okay, just bear with me. But no, the matchup, you got to say, out of that whole squad has got to be LeBron going to Golden State.
I'll say LeBron's getting a lump of coal for Christmas.
It's going to be interesting to see how that team does. Because him going there, I mean, has been the talk of the NBA season, the offseason, between him and Boogie Cousins going to Golden State, who, when they all meet, I mean, what's going to happen? And for me, I just think Golden State is going to run them out of the gym.
Yeah, more than likely.
I think that you put them in the primetime spotlight, and that's going to be the welcome to the Western Conference.
That's the game where a lot of folks, they've opened the Christmas presents. They've had their Christmas lunch or dinner whenever you have it. The stockings are empty. The Yule log's on the fire. Dessert's been eaten. There's really not much going on. The kids are playing with their toys. Pops and grandfather and the son are sitting down to watch some NBA. 8 o'clock. You know what they're turning on.
Mm-hmm. And it's in Oakland too, so that's going to be. I actually think it'd be more entertaining if it would have been in LA.
I do too. I'm surprised they didn't. So something must be going on at the Staples Center that night.
Probably.
Because just NBA Christmas Day is. That's almost become a holiday, so to speak. Even more so than Christmas.
But think about that. It's August, like early August, and we're talking about NBA Christmas games, and kind of a bigger picture thing is everybody saying this is killing the NBA, these super teams and stuff. I'm like, and I laugh because everybody complained about the finals with Cavs and Warriors, and it was going to be a sweep, and it was nobody like those ratings were just fine. Thank you very much. And I think there's more interest in the NBA. Again, when you can have it's the same thing the Yankees. Yankees being good is good for baseball because you have not only do you have Yankees fans, but you have the prime villain too. Like sports is always better when there's a villain.
I agree, but I'm even going to one up this. When the Yankees and the Red Sox are both good, that is must-watch TV.
Alex Rodriguez brought this up on the Sunday night broadcast of ESPN for the Yankees Red Sox. How when baseball is always good when the Yankees and Red Sox are good because it's that marquee matchup that just everybody wins.
But I'm not a Yankees fan, but I even think Yankees transcend that. I think Yankees are good. That's good. That's going to make a difference. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether Boston's good. Yeah, that makes a little bit of a difference.
But they need a good rival to go against. That's the thing. We were talking about history and the evolution. that rivalry will last the test of time. But for the NBA, having the super team and having somebody that you either really love to watch them play or you really want to see them get beat.
Oh, yeah.
And with Golden State, they're polarizing because either you're on both sides of the argument I just said. One of them. For me, I'm just very interested to see how Boogie Cousins interacts with him.
Well, that's what I laugh when they're talking about Draymond Green and Boogie on the same. I'm like, those dudes are going to be suspended each so much. They're rarely going to be on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, they're just so highly passionate players that it's like, you're going to have to watch and, whatever transpires when they get together. It just depends on, my only question I'm going to be watching this season is obviously the expectations for Golden State are through the roof. They should not lose, double-digit games the entire year, in theory. But if let's say they break the Bulls record of most wins in a season and they sweep through the playoffs, do you think that team breaks up at the end of the year?
No.
Because they're going to have Klay Thompson's free agent, if I'm not mistaken. Kevin Durant is. There's been a lot more talk than I thought, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Knicks fan, of Durant coming east.
I think what they do, I think they don't break up. I think they stay together and they try to make it a definitive, not even a question, who is the best team of all time.
The tough thing is they are all, it appears, and I know that things are different behind the scenes, but it looks like those guys get along really well.
Right.
Like they enjoy playing basketball with each other. Like they look like they're having fun. And that's why I don't blame Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant realized, man, I'm going to go there and I'm going to win championships. We're going to have a freaking blast.
Oh,
like we're going to have a lot of fun.
You're going to be surprised. I'm surprised I'm getting paid to do this.
But I do feel like it makes sense though, because right now the East is weak.
Yeah.
Especially with LeBron leaving. So you take somebody, even like any of those guys, like especially top level, Durant goes east. Pretty much, there's a handful of teams that he could walk into tomorrow in the Eastern Conference, and that team is a pretty good.
Oh yeah,
pretty good
they're
odds of making it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like I said, there's been a lot more talk lately. Like I've seen on blogs and sports writers and Twitter and such of Durant thinking of leaving, and I'm like, the season hasn't even begun yet.
But like you said though, think about what you just the scenario you laid out is. If they just dominate this year. If they dominate, win another championship. I mean, at some point, if you're Durant, are you going to start to wonder, because again, he's already shown that it bothers him that people give him crap that he had to go to Golden State to win a title. I mean, that literally, he still is arguing with people on Twitter.
Right.
Right. Camaro guy 74 is still getting mentions from Kevin Durant for complaining about that he can't win. So if he went to... especially if he went to New York, if he went to, I'm trying to think,
Boston.
I think Boston would.
What if he goes to Milwaukee? Teams up with Giannis.
Oh Lord.
I'm just saying, like, but that's the whole thing. It just depends on what you want to do. And like I said, I'm sure he's hearing it. I mean, my biggest gripe of him going is you went to your rival. You went to the guy. That's my only argument. Like I don't.
Were they really rivals though? Like I just feel like they were the two best teams. Like I never felt like
I don't feel them as like a rival like Boston, New York.
Yeah.
But I feel that it was.
But it was definitely if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah,
we couldn't beat him.
And that irritates me. Like that irritated me more than LeBron leaving to go to Miami. Like in all honesty, because I'm like they just beat you in the finals, and it's like you can't beat them, join them. That's been my only argument. It's like I understand it's like from the business aspect. Yeah, if I join that team, yeah, we're going to run this league, and they have.
But it's also nice to be wanted. Like those Golden State players, like Draymond, they were full court press, excuse the pun, to get him to come there.
Oh yeah, they did.
Russ didn't even. I'm not even sure Russ wanted him there.
But that's the argument because then it's like with these when you have star players together, it's always just there's a lot of egos and everybody kind of has to either work together or you combust. In that situation, you kind of get the sense of like it wasn't working out so much. Just how it just appeared after, when he went. I mean, I understand why. Like I said, I understand why Durant went to.
But did it not work that bad? They were up 3-1. They were up 3-1 against those same Warriors.
Right, but I'm just saying. But the fact that you're that close, and then at the end of the season, like, yeah, we're gonna be back. Yeah, we're gonna do it, and then I'm leaving. Like, it's just how it was handled. But
and another aspect of it is everybody used to complain about everybody taking the money, especially NBA players, so overpaid. Yeah. And here's a guy, I mean, obviously he got paid very well, but he could have gotten more money.
He could have got max contract
somewhere
else.
So it's like, here's a dude that wanted to go play for a team, have fun, win a championship, and put that ahead of money. And that's where sometimes I think fans don't understand what they wish for. I think sometimes fans get a little delusional that they should. It's so easy to armchair quarterback,
right?
Oh, absolutely.
But then when somebody like that actually does the thing that you've been complaining about, these guys just caring about the money, and here you this, and then you still have to be negative about it.
It's a double-edged sword, no matter how you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's just why I think, going back to my original point, I just think that the one conversation you keep hearing is who's better, Golden State or the Bulls? Golden State Bulls, Golden State Bulls, and it's not going away. I think they've got a real opportunity if they keep that nucleus together. They can surpass the Bulls and put that conversation and who's best so far behind them. It's not even funny.
Yeah, Bulls fans though losing that series to LeBron. That's I think they could win 10 championships, and Bulls fan is still going to be like, Jordan never lost.
Right.
Jordan never would have lost, especially a 3-1 or 3-0 lead or 3-1 lead or whatever.
It's a whole different era, but that's the thing. That's just a whole other polarizing subject.
Oh yeah.
Like, for me, it's like 90s basketball is basketball. Like, and nowadays it's a different game. I still like the game, but I'm just like, it's a whole different apples and oranges.
Well, it was actually a Warriors Thunder game. It was right after Steph came into the league, and basketball was still kind of on its down. Like, not many people were watching, and I remember I happened to come across the game, and it was old school. It was Thunder Warriors, and that was when they still had Harden on Thunder. And I mean, I just watched the game, and I was mesmerized. I'm like, and I remember, I think I even put it on Facebook, so it's in writing. I said, like, I know there's a lot of NBA haters, but if anybody watched that Thunder Warriors game last night, damn, that was exciting.
Yeah, it was
fun. That was fun.
That was
and
a fun game.
That's where we started, and that just happened to be my son. And again, shocker, my 9-year-old son is the biggest Steph Curry fan in the world. But it actually started because I was talking about, like, oh my gosh, you should see these teams play, and the Warriors have this little dude that just jacks threes all the time, and
yeah, just how that team has evolved is just it's amazing to watch. Yeah, I mean, like I say, you gotta give the devil their due. Mm-hmm. Golden State is great, but you know what? They built that team up, and just see how they're running things. It's going to take a lot to knock them off the throne.
And all the people that are saying the NBA is hurting or it's going to hurt the NBA, you are wrong. I'm sorry, you're wrong. The NBA is better than it's been since those late '90s runs.
Yeah, but just the only thing is, I like seeing this. Like a couple superstars on each team, just so like the little parity. Because right now the West is
you missing the Hawks?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you want to see the Hawks in June?
I do.
How about the Nuggets?
Hey, I'm old school, man. I like I like seeing competition, but you know what? I'd rather see the Knicks get back there.
That's the problem with the NBA right now. The T-Wolves aren't doing so good. Actually, the T-Wolves are doing.
Yeah, T-Wolves are actually doing
good.
They're
looking good.
Yeah. See, there's just so much we can get into about the NBA. That would just take a whole other show to do. But we've given you an extended round the bases, so we're gonna have to wrap the show up. So first and foremost,
I'm a little verbose. I apologize.
It is quite all right. Ryan Bombard from Ryan Bombard Entertainment. thank you for coming on the show, man.
It's a blast, dude. Hopefully it's not the last time.
You got an open door when you can make it through. I know you're like the busiest man in the world.
I don't know about that.
Between, rocking your weddings, rocking baseball, and everything else that comes in between the land of Ryan Bombard.
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, starting a podcast. I'm going to be starting a wedding podcast. 10-minute wedding tips for the modern bride. So if anybody out there is going to be getting engaged or anything like that, just keep me on the top of your mind and tell your, especially if your bride is planning the wedding, just remind her about that. Just have her check me out.
We will post those links on our social media. If you're not following us, you should check us out. You can find the links on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. We will post Ryan's links when he's up and running with the show, so definitely make sure to add that to the subscribe list, along with the ODPH. For Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.
No